My name is Olivia Mercer. I'm 29 years old, and the night my boyfriend made a pros and cons list about me was the night I decided to stop auditioning for my own relationship. It was a Thursday at 6:15 p.m. when I walked into our apartment and realized something was staged. The dining table, usually home to abandoned coffee mugs and my laptop bag, looked like the set of a productivity commercial. My boyfriend, Daniel, sat in the center of it all with his MacBook open, a leather journal to one side, three different colored highlighters lined up in a row like little pastel soldiers. He didn't look up when I walked in, just kept typing, lips pressed together, AirPods in like he was answering emails for a CEO instead of dissecting our life. "Oh, good, you're home," he said finally, pulling one AirPod out but still not quite meeting my eyes. "We need to talk." The worst phrase in the English language. I dropped my work bag by the door and tried to sound casual. "Okay, what's going on?" He closed the laptop slowly, like he was savoring a dramatic pause. Then he folded his hands, therapist style. "I've been doing a lot of self-work with Dr. Reynolds," he said, really processing my attachment patterns, examining my relationship dynamics, diving deep into my emotional needs. Dr. Reynolds, the therapist I helped pay for through our shared expenses account. The therapist I'd never met because, according to Daniel, therapy is my sacred space. I toed off my heels, my brain already buzzing. "All right." "And," he continued, "Dr. Reynolds suggested I make a comprehensive pros and cons list about our relationship to examine whether we're truly compatible long-term or if I'm just comfortable." There it was, comfortable. The word people say right before they blow up their own lives. I stared at him. 3 years together. Living together for 18 months. Talking about rings in that soft, hypothetical way people do when they've already looked at Pinterest boards. "And you need a list for that?" I asked. "It's not just a list," he said, like I'd insulted his religion. "It's a structured evaluation. I've been taking notes for 3 weeks, but I need uninterrupted time to organize my thoughts and make a final assessment. Assessment, like I was a project, like he was doing my quarterly performance review." My chest felt tight. "What exactly are you assessing, Daniel?" He shifted in his chair. "Look, this isn't an attack. It's about clarity. Dr. Reynolds says big decisions require structure. I just need to see everything in one place. Pros, cons, patterns." I took a deep breath and counted to 3. I manage budgets for a living. I live inside spreadsheets. I understand lists and columns and data. I did not understand needing to exile your partner from her own home to decide if she's worth keeping. "So what do you need from me?" I asked, my voice quieter than I wanted it to be. He seemed relieved, like I'd asked the right question. "I need you to leave for the evening. Maybe go to your sister's. I need complete space to process this without any external pressure or influence on my decision." My decision. He said it like I was a job candidate waiting in the lobby. "You want me to leave," I repeated, "so you can sit here and grade our relationship by yourself." "It's not personal," he said quickly. "Dr. Reynolds says this kind of work requires solitude." "How long do you need?" I asked. "I don't know. 4 hours, 5, however long it takes. I'll text you when I'm done and we can discuss my findings." His findings about my life. Something in me went very still. "Okay," I said, "I'll go." He actually smiled. I watched his shoulders drop, watched him visibly relax like I'd just signed a consent form. "Thank you for being so understanding," he said. "This is really important for my growth." There it was again. His growth, his process, his needs. I nodded because I didn't trust my mouth. I grabbed my keys and wallet and walked out. The hallway outside our apartment smelled like someone was microwaving broccoli. There was a kid's bike tipped over by the stairs. Normal, everyday life. I walked past it feeling like I'd just been informed my contract wasn't being renewed. In the car, I just sat there for a while, hands on the steering wheel, engine off. 3 years together. Shared holidays, inside jokes, grocery lists, sick days, the big fight about whether we needed a new couch. Nights where his head was in my lap, while I rubbed his temples because work was killing him. Mornings where he stole my coffee and kissed me on the forehead like it was our ritual. And now I was an item on a pros and cons list. I could hear his voice in my head, clinical and careful. "Olivia is stable. Olivia is good with money. Olivia does not push me enough. Olivia is comfortable." The fluorescent parking lot lights buzzed overhead. A couple walked by with takeout bags, arguing about dipping sauces. Then something inside me, something small and tired and fed up, clicked into place. It wasn't a dramatic epiphany. It was cold. Precise. Like realizing a spreadsheet formula had been wrong for months. I unlocked my phone, opened in the Notes app, and created a new note. Title: Pros and Cons of This Relationship. On the first line, I typed one word. Done. I stared at it for a full 10 seconds. That was it. That was my list. No color coding, no subtitles, no columns. Just done. I took a screenshot. My hands were suddenly very steady. Then I put the car in drive and turned back toward the apartment. The classical music hit me first when I opened the door. He'd put on one of those focus playlists. A candle burned on the table, his laptop open again, journal out. He had AirPods in, absolutely absorbed. He didn't even look up. This was a whole ceremony for him. I walked straight past the dining table and into the bedroom. Duffel bag from the closet. Underwear, jeans, a few tops, my toiletries bag from the bathroom. Laptop, chargers. I pulled my file box from under the bed and flipped it open. Birth certificate, passport, social security card, all the stuff that was mine before him. The lease agreement was in there too, still in its plastic sleeve. I pulled it out and scanned it just to be sure. My name, only my name. Lease term, 1 more month, then month to month. We talked about adding his name. He'd never gotten around to sending me his pay stubs for the application. I exhaled slowly. Perfect. I tucked the lease back into the box, closed it, and set it beside the duffel. Then I pulled out my phone, opened the photo of my one-word list, and hit share. AirDrop. Daniel's MacBook popped up immediately. Daniel's MacBook Pro. I tapped it. From the dining room, I heard the faint little AirDrop chime. I imagined his face when he opened it, when he saw my list. I walked back out. He still hadn't noticed me. Still typing, candle flickering like he was summoning enlightenment. I placed my apartment keys on the kitchen counter. They made a small, sharp sound, a little punctuation mark. Then I left. By the time I pulled into my sister Mia's driveway at 8:47 p.m., my phone was vibrating nonstop. Daniel, where are you? Daniel, did you leave? Daniel, I'm done with my list. We need to talk. Daniel, Olivia, this is really immature. You can't just leave because I asked for space. Daniel, I'm trying to do healthy relationship work and you're sabotaging it. Daniel, answer me. I sat there for a second, watching the messages stack like angry little bricks. Then I scrolled back up to the screenshot of my own list. One word staring back at me. Done. I turned my phone off, and for the first time in a long time, the silence felt like mine. Mia was already at the kitchen counter when I woke up, making coffee like she'd sensed the emotional apocalypse from across town. You look like you got hit by a bus, she said gently as I shuffled in. Relationship audit bus, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. My phone was still off. It sat on the counter like a bomb I'd disarmed, but hadn't disposed of yet. Have you told Mom? She asked. God, no. I took the mug she handed me. I don't have the energy to explain why my boyfriend needed a spreadsheet to decide whether I'm worth keeping. She winced. You're staying as long as you need. You know that, right? I know. The coffee was too hot, but I drank anyway, needing something to anchor me. After a few minutes, I picked up my phone, exhaled, and held down the power button. The screen lit up. It was like watching a slot machine hit 777s. Vibration, vibration, vibration. 31 text, not all from him. Daniel, where are you? Daniel, this isn't funny. Daniel, we need to talk. Daniel, you're overreacting. His best friend Evan. What the hell, Liv? Evan. He called me at midnight, completely wrecked. Evan. He was trying to be mature about your relationship. Evan. And you just abandoned him? Who does that? Evan. You need to go home and fix this. My stomach clenched. Let me guess, Mia said, watching my face. He's the victim now. Oh yeah, I said, full martyr arc. I didn't respond to any of them. I showered, put on makeup with the shaky precision of someone trying to look fine for the outside world, and drove to work. The office was aggressively normal. Fluorescent lights, the low hum of printers, the quiet clacking of keyboards. I slipped into my cubicle, booted up my computer, and tried to lose myself in a budget report. For a few hours, it almost worked. Then, at 11:07 a.m., my desk phone rang. Not my cell, my desk line, the one almost no one uses. I stared at it for a second, a strange dread curling up my spine, then picked up. Olivia Mercer speaking. What the hell is wrong with you? His mother's voice, sharp enough to slice paper. I closed my eyes briefly. Hi, Mrs. Hayes, I'm at work. Is everything okay? No, everything is not okay. She didn't bother with small talk. My son called me sobbing this morning. He said you walked out on him for trying to work on your relationship. That's one way to describe it, I said. He was being thoughtful, she snapped. He was making a pros and cons list to make an informed, mature decision about your future together. Any mature woman would appreciate that. I stared at the spreadsheet on my monitor, the numbers blurring. He wasn't making a grocery list, Mrs. Hayes. He asked me to leave my own apartment so he could evaluate whether I'm good enough, alone, in secret. He has anxiety, she shot back. He needs to process things methodically. You know this. I do know that, I said, which is why I made my own decision, methodically. By abandoning him? By concluding that someone who needs a spreadsheet to figure out if I'm worth his time isn't someone I want to be with. Silence crackled on the line for a heartbeat. How dare you, she said finally, low and furious. After everything he's done for you. I really am at work, I cut in. I have to go. Olivia? I hung up. When I turned, my coworker in the next cubicle was peeking over the divider, eyebrows raised. Everything okay? He asked. Boyfriend drama, I said, then corrected myself. Ex-boyfriend drama. Yikes, he said softly. Sorry. I forced a shrug like it wasn't clawing at my insides. It's fine. It wasn't fine, but it was clear. Lunch came and went. I picked at a salad I barely tasted. At 1:22 p.m., my desk phone rang again. I almost didn't answer. Olivia Mercer. We need to talk about how you're treating my son. His father this time. Less sharp, but heavier. Like a judge delivering a sentence. I leaned back in my chair. Mr. Hayes, I understand you're upset, he interrupted, but walking out on him without a conversation, that's cruel. I'm treating him like someone who asked me to leave my apartment so he could grade our relationship, I said evenly. Which is to say, I'm not treating him like anything anymore. We're over. That's not what happened. His tone carried that patronizing tilt older men get when they're sure they know better. He was trying to make a pros and cons list to see where you two could improve together. I know, I said. He told me. I made my own list. Mine was shorter. You can't just leave him high and dry like this. He has nowhere to go. He has parents, I said. That's not the point. That's exactly the point, I replied. The apartment is in my name. He's not on the lease. He wanted space to think. I gave him infinite space. You're being incredibly childish, he said, frustration leaking through. I'm being incredibly clear. We're done. He can come get his stuff this weekend. He's not getting his stuff, his father said, offended. That's his home. No, I said quietly. It's my home. It was his convenience. I hung up before he could respond. My hands shook a little as I set the receiver down. I took 3 slow breaths, then turned back to my computer. Email notification popped up at the corner of my screen a few minutes later. Sender, Dr. Reynolds, Douch Therapy at something. Subject, relationship support session. I clicked it before my brain caught up. Hello, Olivia, it began. This is Dr. Reynolds, your partner's therapist. Daniel shared your contact information with me as an emergency measure. I understand there's been a significant rupture in your relationship, and I would like to offer a joint session to help both of you process. I didn't read the rest. I hit delete. Then I went into my settings and blocked the address. His therapist was now directly contacting me to help manage my reaction to being evaluated like a project. Boundaries, apparently, were a one-way street in their world. By the time I got back to Mia's that evening, my nerves felt rubbed raw. She was on the couch with a blanket and Netflix already queued up. Popcorn? She asked. Every kind of corn, I said. Exploding, preferably. I toed off my shoes and sank down beside her. We made it 10 minutes into some ridiculous reality show before headlights flashed through the living room curtains. Mia frowned. You expecting anyone? No. A car door slammed. I knew that sound. The way it echoed, the muffled thud of a familiar door. I was already standing when he knocked. Mia followed me to the front hall, hovering behind my shoulder. I opened the door. Daniel stood on the porch, eyes wild, hair a little messy, like he'd run his hands through it 1,000 times. We need to talk, he said, stepping toward me. I kept one hand on the door. No, we don't. Yes, we do. His voice went up half an octave. You don't get to just end 3 years like this, Olivia. You were literally about to end 3 years with a list, I said. I just beat you to it. That's not... He shook his head. I wasn't going to end it. I was trying to understand it better. By evaluating me like a used car, I asked. It wasn't like that, he said, frustrated. Dr. Reynolds. What was on the cons list, Daniel? He blinked. What? Your cons list, I repeated. The reasons I'm not good enough. What were they? I never said you're not good enough, he insisted. Then why did you need the list? He looked away. Because I needed clarity on some concerns I've been having. What concerns? I pushed. That's between me and my therapist, he snapped. Right there. That was the core of it. He wanted to dissect me in private and hand me a verdict like a report card. Right, I said softly. So you get to judge me based on secret criteria, but I don't get to know what I'm failing at. Very partnership-oriented. You're twisting this, he said. I was trying to be responsible. I'm just clarifying, I replied. You wanted to sit alone and list my inadequacies. I decided I don't want to be with someone who sees me as a problem to solve. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic, he said, darting a look at Mia. Can you please talk some sense into her? Mia raised an eyebrow. I'm not getting in the middle of this. The door behind me opened wider. She stepped into view, arms crossed. Daniel, it's late, she said calmly. Whatever this is, it's not happening on my lawn. We haven't resolved anything, he insisted. She can't just leave. That apartment is my home too. No, I said. It's not. The lease is in my name. You're not on it. His face went white, then red. Are you kidding me right now? He demanded. You're going to use that against me? I'm going to use facts, I said. Sunday, noon to 3. You can come get your stuff then. You can't kick me out, he said, voice climbing again. I'm not kicking you out, I said. I'm telling you when you can collect your belongings from my apartment. This is illegal, he said. I have tenant rights. You have guest rights, I corrected, which ended when you asked me to leave so you could deliberate whether I was worth keeping. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Good, I thought. Maybe neither of us should recognize the version of me who would have begged. I can't believe you're doing this, he said. Believe it, I replied. Sunday. He looked like he wanted to argue more, but Mia opened the door a little wider, still polite, still calm, but clearly done. Good night, Daniel, she said. He glared at both of us, then stomped back to his car. The engine revved too loud as he reversed, tires squealing just enough to be dramatic, but not enough to actually leave marks. Mia closed the door and turned to me. You okay? She asked. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. No, I said, but I'm done. And under all the hurt, there was something else. Relief. Sunday morning felt like standing on the edge of something, like the moment before a storm breaks, when the air is too still, too quiet, too aware. I got to the apartment at 11:30 a.m., half an hour early on purpose. I wanted time to breathe before the confrontation. The place looked exactly as I'd left it, neat, calm, mine, a small mercy. I set my bag down, walked through each room, grounding myself. My bedroom, my kitchen, my walls, my lease. If he wanted distance to evaluate my worth, then he'd get the full miles of it. When noon hit, the apartment was perfectly silent. 12:15, 12:30, 12:45. Fine, I thought. He wants to play avoidance? I can finish what I started. I went to the bedroom, hauled out the packing boxes I kept from my last move, flat, taped bundles waiting like quiet witnesses, and started assembling them on the floor with satisfying, decisive pops of tape. At 1 p.m., my phone buzzed. Evan, she's not coming. She. As if Daniel was suddenly a delicate princess in distress. Me. Cool. Then I'm packing his stuff at 3:01 and putting it in the hall. Evan, you can't do that. Me. Watch me. I put the phone down and opened his closet. His side was still neatly arranged. Color-coordinated shirts, 2 rows of shoes, the jacket I bought him for his birthday hanging front and center like muscle memory. A small pang went through me. Then I reminded myself what hung even heavier. You're not ambitious enough. You don't make enough money. You're boring. I folded the first shirt into the box. At 1:15 p.m., the key turned in the lock. Except Daniel didn't come in alone. He walked in with his entire family and Evan trailing behind him like emotional backup dancers. His mother, his father, Evan looking uncomfortable but still there. A full intervention squad. I almost laughed. Almost. Hi, I said flatly. You're late. His father stepped forward immediately, voice deep and authoritative. We need to discuss the situation reasonably. There's nothing to discuss, I said. He needs to pack his belongings. You can't just throw him out, his mother snapped. He's been living here for over a year. I'm not throwing him out, I said calmly. I'm reclaiming my space after he decided he needed to evaluate whether I was worth his. Daniel finally spoke, crossing his arms stiffly. I wasn't evaluating whether you were worth my space. I was trying to understand my feelings. By making a list, I said, alone, with 3 highlighters, while sending me out into the night. His mother stepped forward like a lawyer presenting Exhibit A. He needs structure for emotional clarity. You know this. You've always known this. And I need a partner, I replied, not a judge. His father gestured at the boxes. This is not mature. You both need to sit and work this out. I'm not having a family conference about a relationship he already quantified, I said. The deadline is 3. Daniel's voice cracked just slightly. Olivia, stop. This is insane. No, I said softly. What's insane is asking your girlfriend of 3 years to leave her own apartment so you can score her like a midterm. It wasn't scoring, it was processing. Great, I said. Let's process. What were the cons? Silence. He blinked fast. What? Your cons list, I said. You know, the flaws you needed quiet time to tally. What were they? He looked toward his mother, then toward his father, then back at me. I don't think that's productive, he said. So they exist, I said, and you won't say them. His mother cut in sharply. He doesn't have to justify his therapeutic process to you. And I don't have to stay in a relationship where my partner diagnoses me privately like I'm a lab report. Evan shifted uncomfortably. Liv, come on, he was trying to communicate. No, I said, he was trying to evaluate. Daniel finally exhaled, snapping. Fine, you want to know? One was that you're too comfortable. The room went still. You don't push yourself, he continued. You stay in the same job, same routine. You never try for promotions. You're settled. I stared at him. I like my job. Exactly, he said. You're not ambitious enough, and I want more for my future. His parents glanced at each other. Evan looked at the floor. My jaw tightened. What else? You don't make enough money for us to have the lifestyle I want someday, he said quietly. A nice house, a yard, good schools. You can't provide that. His father winced. His mother's mouth tightened into a thin, embarrassed line. And the third? I asked. He swallowed. You're too predictable. You don't like spontaneous stuff. You don't like surprises or adventures. You're kind of boring. It felt like he'd reached into my chest and pressed 2 fingers to the exact tender spot he always knew was there. Still, I nodded slowly. So, let me summarize. I don't make you enough money, I don't excite you enough, and I'm not ambitious enough. That's not, he began. Those were your cons, I said, in front of witnesses. He looked genuinely panicked now. The pros list was way longer. How many pros? I asked. 11, he said. And 3 cons, I repeated. Yet you still needed 4 hours alone to decide if I was worth keeping. His father rubbed his temples. His mother looked away. Evan's face was a mix of pity and regret. I let the silence stretch until it suffocated the last bit of pretense in the room. Okay, I said finally, voice steady. Decision made. I walked back to the closet, pulled another stack of shirts from the hanger, and folded them into the box. No one said a word. Not until the boxes were full, taped shut, and stacked near the door. His mother finally whispered, Olivia, he didn't mean. He meant every word, I said. And that's fine, really. He deserves someone who fits his criteria, and I deserve someone who doesn't keep score. Daniel's eyes brimmed. This isn't what I wanted. You wanted clarity, and I said, now you have it. His father picked up the last box. His mother touched Daniel's arm. Evan avoided my eyes entirely. They carried everything out slowly, quietly. The energy completely shifted from when they'd arrived. At the door, Daniel turned back one last time. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean for it to go like this. How did you mean for it to go? I asked gently. You wanted to grade me, then negotiate changes, work on the parts where I didn't score high enough? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. It's okay, I said. Really, we're just done. And for the first time, he didn't argue. After they left, I closed the door, leaned against it, let the quiet settle like dust. Then I called a locksmith. $180, and 1 hour later, the locks were changed. I pocketed the new keys. Some doors, once closed, aren't meant to open again. The next morning, the world pretended to be normal. The sun filtered through the blinds in thin, quiet lines. My coffee tasted the same. Traffic sounded the same. The air outside my apartment smelled like someone downstairs was burning toast again. But inside me, there was a shift, tiny but real, a loosening. Until 9:12 a.m. when reality knocked again in the form of an email notification. Sender, tenant advocacy, help. Subject, illegal eviction notice, formal complaint. I opened it, already knowing it wouldn't be good. 4 paragraphs of legal-sounding jargon scrolled across my screen, claiming I'd illegally evicted Daniel, violated tenant laws, and owed him immediate compensation plus the right to return to the property. I read it twice, then once more, just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. My heart didn't race. It didn't even jump. It just sighed. I forwarded it to my landlord with one line. Hi, is any of this remotely real? Olivia. 10 minutes later, he called. Hey, Olivia, he said, already chuckling. No, he's not a tenant. He lived here over a year, I reminded him. On your invitation, he said. You paid everything. Every bill, every rent check. He's not on the lease. There's no record of him contributing financially to the unit. Legally, he was a guest. So I'm not in trouble? Not even a tiny bit. Tell him to pound sand. I exhaled, relieved. Thanks, really. Oh, and Olivia? He added, amused. If he sends another one of those, forward it. I collect them like baseball cards. I laughed for the first time in days. Relief lasted until noon. That's when my phone rang again. This time from the lobby security desk at my office. Ms. Mercer, there's a woman here asking for you. She says it's an emergency. I froze. A woman? Yes, brown hair, angry. Of course. I walked downstairs, both dreading and predicting exactly what I would find. And I was right. Evan's girlfriend, Claire, stood in the lobby with her arms crossed, her expression set somewhere between furious and theatrical. You need to fix this, she said before I even reached her. I blinked. I'm at work. Then fix it fast. The security guard shifted, ready to step in. I raised a hand to stop him. Claire, you cannot show up at my job. I'm here because Daniel is devastated, she snapped. He can't sleep. He can't eat. His anxiety is through the roof. You broke him. No, I said quietly. I ended a relationship he'd already demoted to a multi-page report. She scoffed. He was trying to be smart about your future, and I was tired of being audited. You're heartless, she hissed. I'm honest, I replied. There's a difference. You humiliated him, she said, and now he won't talk to anyone. He keeps asking what he did to deserve this. My eyebrows lifted. I'm guessing he didn't tell you the part where he said I wasn't ambitious, didn't make enough money, and was too boring to build a life with. She froze. Just for a second. Ah, he hadn't told her that part. She recovered quickly. He didn't mean it like that. You know how he gets when he's overwhelmed. I do, I said, which is why I no longer want to live with it. Her lip curled. You should feel guilty. Claire, I said calmly, leave. Now. The security guard stepped forward. She glared at me. This isn't over. Actually, I said, it is. She stomped out. The guard nodded at me like he wasn't paid enough for this kind of soap opera. I went back upstairs, ignoring the curious looks as I passed coworkers. My manager appeared in my doorway an hour later. Everything okay? He asked gently. Ex-boyfriend drama, I said. Handled. Won't happen again. He nodded like he didn't believe it, but he let it drop. By the time I got home that night, I was wrung out. I put my bag down, toed off my shoes, and took a deep breath. Then saw a car idling in my assigned parking spot. Daniel, of course. He got out before I even reached the walkway, meeting me halfway. We need to talk, he said, breathless, like he'd run the words from miles away. No, I said, we don't. Yes, we do. You can't keep avoiding me. I'm not avoiding you, I said. I'm moving on. You should try it. His face twisted. I can't move on. You threw me out with no warning. You had 3 days warning, I said evenly, and you're the one who wanted space to figure out if I was worth keeping. I never said you weren't worth keeping. You said, I counted them on my fingers, that I wasn't ambitious, didn't make enough money, and was boring. His jaw clenched. Those were just concerns. Then find someone without those concerns, I said. I don't accept this, he said. I won't leave until we work this out. All right, I said, and I pulled out my phone, started recording. What are you doing? He asked, voice suddenly cracking. Documenting, I said, tone calm as ice. That you're on my property, refusing to leave after I asked you. That's trespassing. He went pale. You wouldn't, he whispered. I lifted the phone slightly. Try me. He stared at me, hurt, shocked, angry, all of it swirling into a frantic tangle, then backed up slowly. Got into his car, drove off. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. I thought maybe, it was over. But then Thursday night came, 11:30 p.m. Unknown number, I answered without thinking. Hello? You need to pay for her therapy. His mother. Of course. Excuse me? I said. Her sessions have doubled since you traumatized her, she said. She needs intensive treatment now. You need to pay for it. I let out a small, humorless laugh. I'm not paying for anything. She has anxiety and depression, she snapped. And you are no longer her partner, I said. Her mental health is her responsibility, not mine. You owe her, she hissed. I owe her nothing, I said. Good night. And I hung up. Blocked the number. And for the first time in the entire mess, I felt something new rising in me. Not fear, not guilt, not even anger. Just resolve. A clean, quiet line drawn in chalk that I would not step back over. Saturday morning, the universe delivered its next punch. Not with a text, not with a phone call, but with a certified letter taped to my apartment door like a death notice. The sender, Hale and Weston Legal Services. I stood there in my pajamas, hair a mess, coffee in hand, staring at it for a full 5 seconds before muttering, "You've got to be kidding me." I tore it open. Inside was a formal demand letter, written in the kind of pompous legalese that practically sighed at its own self-importance. Daniel, through this alleged attorney, was demanding $4,800 for his share of household expenses over the 18 months we lived together, $2,200 for emotional distress, $600 for therapy sessions related to the traumatic eviction, $350 for moving expenses, a formal written apology, total $70,950. I stared at it, then started laughing, loud, slightly hysterical. My dog, who wasn't yet my dog, but definitely would be, soon, still a future plot point, would have tilted his head at me in confusion. I snapped a picture and sent it to my lawyer friend, Alex. Me. Help. Am I being sued by a man who needed 4 hours and 3 highlighters to determine if I was girlfriend material? He called me within 2 minutes, laughing so hard I could almost hear him wiping tears. Okay, he said, catching his breath. This is, Olivia, this is delicious. This is a bluff. A wet paper bag has more legal weight. Alex, I said slowly, I am holding an official-looking letter with a letterhead. Uh-huh, he said, which he probably paid $200 for on LegalZoom. Olivia, he has no case. Zero, zilch. He wasn't on the lease. He never paid rent. You didn't steal anything. Emotional distress requires actual damages. Therapy costs caused by being dumped do not count. So I ignore it? I asked. Completely, he said. If he actually files something, he won't. Call me. You're sure? Absolutely. The man is bluffing with an Uno card. I finally exhaled. Relief lasted approximately 5 hours. At 2 p.m., someone pounded on my door, hard enough that my neighbor peered out to check if a SWAT team had arrived. I opened it with the chain still on. Daniel stood there, holding a copy of the letter like it was a holy text. Did you get the letter from my lawyer? He demanded. Yep, I said. So, are you going to pay? Nope. His face went tomato red. You have to. It's a joke, I said. Alex says you have no case. You showed it to a lawyer? He sputtered. Are you serious? Daniel, I sighed. You thought a piece of paper would make me panic and hand you money? You owe me, he said. I contributed to that apartment. You were a guest, I said. Guests don't get reimbursed for using electricity and eating groceries. His jaw clenched. I'm going to sue you. Great, I said. Let me know how that works out. I closed the door, locked the deadbolt. He yelled something muffled on the other side, then left. The next morning, I woke up to 15 texts from people I didn't even recognize. His cousins, his coworkers, his college friends, some random girl whose profile picture was a cat. You're an abuser. You traumatized him. You left him with nothing. You're heartless. You'll pay for this. Karma is coming. I blocked them all. Then my phone buzzed again. Mom. Oh no, I answered cautiously. Hi, Mom. Olivia, she said, I got an interesting Facebook message. I covered my face with my hand. Oh, God. Oh, yes, she said dryly. Your ex-boyfriend's mother sent me a very long message about how you traumatized her son and I raised you wrong. I groaned. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't be, my mother said. I told her that her son asked my daughter to leave her own apartment so he could make a list about whether she was good enough, and then cried when she made her own list. I blinked. You said that? Oh, I said more, she said. She blocked me halfway through. I inhaled sharply, then laughed. A real laugh, one that unclenched something inside my ribs. Thank you, I said softly. Always, she said. But honey, is he okay? This seems extreme. He's spiraling, I said. Not because he lost me, because he thought I'd beg. And I didn't. That's not healthy, she murmured. That's why we broke up. She sighed. Good call, sweetheart. After 5 weeks of chaos, the noise finally quieted. The demands stopped. The random texts stopped. The social media stories stopped. Almost. Because then came the plot twist I never expected. But of course, first came the quiet. Soft, tentative, filling the cracks the chaos left behind. The days blurred together. I bought new sheets, rearranged the living room, cooked dinner for one, and found I liked the silence more than I expected. I slept better, breathed deeper, almost felt like myself again. And then, my phone rang. Unknown number. But this time, the voice on the other end wasn't his mother or his cousin or Claire. It was a woman, and she said a sentence that froze me in place. Hi, I hope this isn't weird, but I've been dating Daniel for 3 weeks, and I think he's lying to me. Dating. Daniel, I repeated, gripping the phone just a little too tightly. For 3 weeks? Yes, the woman said. Her voice was steady, but underneath it there was something. Anger, embarrassment, confusion layered like sediment. My name is Hannah. We met on a dating app. I think he lied about a lot. I closed my eyes for a brief, exhausted moment. What exactly did he tell you? That you two broke up 6 months ago, she said, and that you were controlling and emotionally volatile. He said he spent months trying to heal after escaping the relationship. My mouth actually fell open. 6 months, I said. He moved his stuff out of my apartment 5 weeks ago. That's what I thought, she said tightly, because I did some digging. His stories weren't lining up. Then I found a Reddit post he made 3 weeks ago, talking about a girlfriend who abandoned him suddenly and left him with no closure. My jaw clenched. Of course he played both sides of the victim coin. I escaped her, and also she abandoned me, depending on what made him look more wounded. What else did he tell you? I asked. She hesitated. He said you were jealous of his career, that you held him back, and that you stole money from him. I barked out a laugh. If he told you I stole money, he's angling for sympathy, or an alibi, or both. That's what I suspected, she said quietly. But then I started noticing how he talked about himself, about the future, about what he wanted. He kept asking me about my job title, my income, my 5-year plan. Cold clarity settled in. Hannah, what do you do for a living? I'm a senior software engineer, she said, and I didn't let her finish. Let me guess, I said. He told you he wants someone who's ambitious, someone who matches his vision, someone with goals. She sucked in a breath. Yes. Well, I said softly, there's your answer. Silence stretched between us. Not hostile, just heavy. Can I ask, she said, voice quieter now, what actually happened between you two? So I told her. All of it. The pros and cons list, the request for space, the airdropped screenshot, his family's intervention, the aftermath, the threats, the demand letter, the trespassing, the smear campaign, the therapy bills his mother tried to send me. By the end, she was silent. Hannah, I asked. Holy God, she breathed out. He told me you were controlling, but he was the one controlling everything. Exactly. He lied to me, she said, fury growing beneath her words. About everything. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. He lied to you because he wanted something from you. He wanted the life you could provide. An upgrade, she whispered. He was shopping for an upgrade. I didn't have to confirm it. The silence was its own answer. She finally exhaled shakily. Thank you, Olivia. I needed to hear the truth. I'm ending it. Good, I said gently. You deserve better than to become someone else's item on a spreadsheet. She gave a soft, grateful laugh. Wow, that's exactly what this feels like. We hung up. For a moment, I just sat on my couch staring at the wall, feeling the oddness of it all. How my breakup had rippled outward into the lives of strangers. How the truth always found its way through the cracks of someone's lies. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I broke up with him, the text read. He lost it, called me immature, said I didn't understand adult relationships. I told him I don't date liars. He said you poisoned me against him. I said no, you exposed him. Another bubble popped up. Just wanted you to know. Thank you. And then, you saved me from wasting years on someone who saw people as options. I put my phone down. The apartment was silent in the softest, most peaceful way. A week passed. Then 2. No more random texts. No more threats. No more love bombing disguised as therapy bills. No more late night calls. No more Daniel. Everything stopped. I heard through the grapevine, mostly from Evan, who sheepishly reached out to apologize, that Daniel was back on all the dating apps, with a very specific filter. Not someone kind, not someone compatible, but women making 100K plus. Typical. Apparently he'd moved back in with his parents temporarily because the world had wronged him and rent was too financially traumatizing right now. His best friend had pulled away. Even Claire stopped defending him. His mother was reportedly telling people I'd stolen his stability. But none of that mattered, because for the first time in months, my life was no longer orbiting his chaos. I repainted the living room, bought new lamps, got a fluffy rescue mutt with mismatched ears who followed me everywhere, went on walks, read books, slept like a person who wasn't bracing for her phone to explode. And then I started dating again. Slowly, carefully, quietly. About a month later, I went for coffee with someone I'd met at a mutual friend's birthday. Luke, a veterinarian with warm eyes and the kind of voice that made even awkward silence feel comfortable. He owned his own place. He had a dry sense of humor. He asked me questions about my hobbies, not my salary. On our second date, he finally asked, "So, what happened with your last relationship?" I hesitated. Then I decided to tell him the truth. All of it. The list, the exile, the screenshot, the intervention, the lawyer letter, the whole saga. When I finished, he didn't speak for a few seconds. Then he said softly and sincerely, "That's the healthiest boundary I've ever heard." I blinked. "You knew your worth," he continued. "You weren't going to sit there and convince someone you were enough. You opted out. That takes strength most people don't have." I stared down at my hands, warmth rising in my chest. It didn't feel strong. It felt like survival. "Survival is strength," he said. "We've gone out a few more times since then. Nothing dramatic, nothing chaotic, just steady, kind, quiet in all the best ways. And sometimes, when I think back on everything, I remember the note I typed that night in my car. One word, one truth, one choice. Done. And I still am. Done with people who evaluate love like it's a spreadsheet. Done with performing for approval. Done with being measured, compared, and almost upgraded. Done. And finally, free.